So here's a big question. Can a machine really do the job of a highly trained Sharia scholar? The kind of complex compliance work that takes years of study? Well, that's exactly what we're going to get into today. And believe it or not, the answer is already reshaping one of the fastest growing sectors in global finance. It all starts with understanding just how big of a challenge this is. To really get why this all matters, you have to appreciate the scale we're talking about. The global Islamic finance market, it's already worth over $4 trillion. And when you have millions of transactions happening every single day, making sure every last one is compliant, well, that's a monumental task. And this slide, wow, it just perfectly illustrates the core bottleneck. A human scholar might take 3 full days to carefully go through a complex contract just to find one hidden violation. An AI, on the other hand, can flag that exact same issue in just 3 seconds. Now, that isn't just an improvement. It's a complete paradigm shift. It's what makes scalable, real-time compliance a reality for the very first time. Which, of course, brings us to the big question. How on earth is this even possible? How can an algorithm understand the deep, subtle nuances of Islamic jurisprudence? Well, the answer is pretty fascinating, and it lies in a new kind of technical architecture. This secret sauce is a sophisticated 3-layer AI system. So it's not one giant thinking machine. Instead, it's a system that's designed to kind of mimic how a human would analyze something. A quick scan for any red flags, then a deep read to get the context, and finally a verifiable review so you can see exactly how it reached its conclusion. So first up, you've got a security system that's just looking for anything unusual. Second, you have a context reader that actually understands legal language. And third, and this is super important, a transparent audit trail that makes sure humans are always in the driver's seat. Let's dig into each layer. All right, layer 1. The best way to think about this is like a security system for financial data. It uses a machine learning technique called an isolation forest. And what that means is the algorithm builds thousands, literally thousands of random decision trees. The anomalies, the weird data points, they're actually the easiest ones to isolate in this forest. So instead of being told what's wrong, it just learns to spot what doesn't fit in. So what kind of stuff does it actually flag? Well, things that just stand out. A massive transfer in the middle of the night, or maybe recurring payments that have the same mathematical pattern as compound interest, even if they're called something totally different. The system isolates these outliers and kicks them over to a human for review. It's basically finding the needle in the haystack for you. Now, layer 2 is where things get really interesting. This is where the system uses powerful language models like Google's BERT to read and, this is the key, understand financial contracts. We're not just talking about a simple keyword search here. This is about understanding context by looking at how words relate to all the other words around them. And this quote from the research just says it all, doesn't it? Context is everything. A simple search for the word return can't tell you the difference between a totally permissible profit-sharing return and a prohibited fixed guaranteed return, which is riba or interest. But a smart NLP model can. It can catch those violations that are cleverly hidden away in complex legal jargon. But look, you can't just have a black box making these important calls. And that's where something called explainable AI, or XAI, comes into play. This is a supercritical field in AI that's all about making sure that every decision an algorithm makes is transparent and totally understandable to a human. It answers the why. So this third layer is absolutely crucial because it creates a full audit trail. The AI flags a potential problem, highlights the exact clause or transaction, and then it provides its reasoning. This is what satisfies the really high standards from bodies like A80FI. And it ensures that the qualified Sharia scholars, they always have the final say, which maintains the integrity of the entire system. Okay, so that's all the theory. But how does this complex tech actually show up in the real world? Like in the investment apps you might be using on your phone right now? Well, you're seeing it in platforms like Soya, Masafa, and Finisbia. They're using this kind of automated screening to cover a massive number of stocks across markets all over the world. We're talking about access to Sharia-compliant investing at a scale that was pretty much unimaginable before. Under the hood, these apps are running a constant multi-step process. First, they check what a company actually does to screen out any prohibited business sectors. Then, they run a really detailed analysis of its financial ratios. And finally, they can even calculate how much of a stock's dividend needs to be purified or donated if some of it came from non-permissible income. And a really key part of that financial check is the debt ratio. Under the widely used AOFII standard, a company's interest-bearing debt has to be less than 33% of its total market value. This is a critical screen to make sure investors aren't overly exposed to businesses that rely heavily on riba-based financing. And you have to remember, this isn't a one-and-done kind of check. A stock's compliance can change daily. For example, if a stock's price falls, its debt-to-market cap ratio goes up, and it could actually become non-compliant overnight. These AI systems monitor this stuff in near real time, alerting investors if something in their portfolio changes. So what does this all mean for the future? Is the AI taking over? Well, not exactly. It's really about creating a powerful new kind of partnership between human experts and these intelligent machines. Now, let's be real for a second. There are still some major hurdles to overcome. For one, there just isn't a lot of high-quality labeled data to train these models on. And capturing the deep, contextual nuances of fiqh, the human understanding and interpretation of divine Islamic law, is incredibly complex. The only way to solve this is through real, genuine collaboration between the scholars and the data scientists. This means the role of the human scholar isn't going away, it's evolving. By automating all the routine screening work, scholars are freed up to focus on the really complex stuff, making rulings on new and novel financial products, judging those ambiguous edge cases, and crucially, setting the ethical guidelines for how these powerful AI systems are even used in the first place. And this quote, I think, just nails it. It captures the essence of this transformation perfectly. The AI isn't a replacement, it's a force multiplier. It's a tool that takes the deep, incredible knowledge of a scholar and applies it at the mind-boggling scale and speed of modern finance. It gives them superpowers. Which really leaves us with a final thought. With this level of sophistication and human oversight, the question isn't really if machines can do this anymore. The question is how we choose to govern them. So, what do you think? Would you trust an AI to make sure your investments align with your values?